Coming to you live from Supreme Macaroni Company in Little Italy in New York City, it's the 10 Point Podcast. My name is Bruce, and I like these calm little moments before the storm. It reminds me of Beethoven, but with me today are two men who don't like Beethoven. First, he sleeps sitting up in a chair with his sunglasses on. It's Chris.
It's not far from the truth, actually.
And secondly, stay away from him. He looks like a weirdo. It's Andy.
I was going to say, Chris just doing his sunglass thing. That's just to pretend his kids are like not around. It's like, leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Just leave me be. We are the 10 Point Podcast. You can find us wherever you download, listen to, and stream your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, or anywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube, 10 Point Podcast on YouTube. On the social media channels, we are 10 Point Podcast as well. No numbers, it's all the letters. We don't have an Instagram yet, so stick to Facebook and Twitter for us. Get in touch there. We want to hear from you. Give us your suggestions, reviews, and just general opinions about how each one of us is terrible and have the worst opinion in movies possible. And you can also head over to 10pointpodcast.com and read all the articles that are up there. Any new reviews this week, Andy?
Nah.
No. New reviews coming up whenever new stuff comes out or other old interesting stuff gets watched. There'll be stuff there, but you can also get in touch there. Send us emails at our email address. The link is on the website there, and also you get our donate buttons over there as well. So if you don't want to like, subscribe, or anything on the videos and all that, you can send donations directly to us on the donation button on the website. On to the lads then. What have we been watching in the last week? And I'll also say, what have you been dreaming in the last week, if anyone's got anything interesting from that front, since Andy's
I want to
tale
know what Andy's been dreaming about this
was
week.
the best story I heard last week. So Andy, have you got anything to top Chrissy's cruise ship of some description?
Nah, no dreams this time. And I've only really watched one film other than playing Call of Duty, which is Wrong Turn, the new reboot of Wrong Turn franchise.
Is there a new one, right?
Aye. I don't know how many wrong turns they got up to, but this one's actually a right turn. It's pretty good. It's not shit, but it's a wee bit, I don't know, fucked up. It's not what you expect. Well, it's not what I expected from a Wrong Turn film. It's definitely different from the rest of the Wrong Turns, so worth a watch.
But the other ones were funny, were they? Were they kind of comedy horror?
No, they were still fucked up.
Right.
More
I've
fucked
never
up.
seen them, actually.
Yeah, they're more fucked up gory, but this is not really that gory. It's a weird kind of, it's these new horror genres where it's not actually gory, it's more actually suspense on them. But
I was going to say they've gone for jump scares instead of actually making
no,
people...
it's not even jump scares, it's just fucked up. But I can't really say anything because I'll ruin the film, so it's worth a watch.
Yeah. Worth a watch, but not great. What were you,
That's it.
Chris? What you watched in the last week?
From horror films to the complete opposite, I watched Flora and Ulysses.
I watched that as well. Oh, that's
Okay,
on our
like
website for a review as well.
Squirrel. Eh?
You can go on our website and read that review.
Oh, there we go.
I'm not
What
going to say it's a bad film, but I mean, the girls liked it.
What
But I
film?
lost interest quite quickly in it.
Didn't
There you
grip
go.
you. No, didn't
No.
grip you.
It was Super Squirrel, that's all it is.
It's still the highlight, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all the film I watched, actually.
It's a higher high that I've had. Literally, I've not watched anything except Léon this week. I've been the same as Andy. I've been.
Whoa. When I said I never watched anything, I got fucking ripped to shreds, so...
Yeah,
I know. And you've literally been off for an entire week.
You said you've been watching the Thunder and Lightning and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been watching lots of sports. I've been playing a few games, and I've been watching things like WandaVision and The Boys and all that sort of stuff. So TV's been getting my attention. I've not had the attention span to sit down and watch an hour, more than an hour, I should say. So that's kind of where I've been going in the last week. And I've not had any mental dreams either. I thought I'll try and remember a dream this week, but I've not been able
You need to eat more cheese.
Yeah, I think so. Some late night cheese, I think, will make the difference. But on to the point of the podcast today. On point number one is, what is the point? The point is the 1994 action crime drama thriller Léon, or Léon the Professional, since there are two different kind of
I didn't
names
realise
for
it's
it.
called Leon the Professional.
Oh, this
Yeah, I
is
think it's the
literally this is the
American
running
actor.
gag of this season, where there's actually two different cuts of this film, and there's about
More than
30
that.
different versions of that. So
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You could have watched a
Uh,
completely different film.
We will get to that bit in due course. The film, whichever version it was, brought to us by Gaumont, And I think that's the first film we've done in ages, only had the one production studio behind it, but Gaumont Pictures, or whatever the French version of Pictures is, made Léon, based on the character Victor the Cleaner from Luc Besson's 1990 film Nikita, or La Femme Nikita, again, depending on where and when you saw it. Obviously, Luc Besson wrote and directed Léon as well. His other stuff that he either wrote and directed or just wrote, the highlights are Nikita, The Fifth Element, The Transporter, Taken, and Lucy. We've definitely mentioned a couple of them, and in fact have reviewed The Fifth Element before. I had not remembered, I probably realised, but not remembered that we'd done Luc Besson with, I forgot he did Léon and The Fifth Element, but we've covered him before, so I won't go too deep into him. The film stars Jean Reno, or as Andy knows him, how do you know
Rene
Jean
Russo.
Reno? Rene Russo, as he often calls John Reno. Famous, or his highlights, I should say, are various French language films throughout the late 80s, early 90s. He's got a massive collection of films that are in French that I personally have not seen. I don't dive too deeply into French cinema, but I don't know if he's an award-winning actor in France or anything like that, but several of them. But Léon was one of his first big steps into international/American cinema. So after Léon, he went on to be in Mission Impossible, Godzilla, Ronin, the 2000s versions of the Pink Panthers movies, The Da Vinci Code, Flushed Away, Couples Retreat, and The Five Bloods was the last big one I could see on his filmography. So he's usually the kind of French side character in everything, essentially beyond Léon. He was quite prominent in Godzilla, I guess, but for the most part,
Godzilla.
The French. Yes, exactly. Starring with Jean Reno, we have Gary Oldman. Highlights are JFK, Bram Stoker's Dracula, True Romance, and then he made Léon and The Fifth Element, roughly around the same sort of time. And beyond that, I've got Air Force One, Lost in Space, Harry Potter series, The Dark Knight trilogy, The Book of Eli, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Darkest Hour, and very recently Mank. So some clear highlights, both critically and monetarily, in Gary Oldman's history there. I don't know if we touched too heavily on him in the Fifth Element episode, but they're the kind of the major things on his history. And finally, I picked out quite quickly Natalie Portman, because this was her first ever feature role. She had never had a feature film before this. At age 11 years old, she was cast. I think she was one of 2,000 people who tried to get the role of Mathilda, including some other kind of young Hollywood actresses that have become stars, like Liv Tyler and Christina Ricci also apparently were in the running, and they were 2 of the 2,000. And Natalie Portman went on to star in Heat not long after, and I picked out Mars Attacks because I'd forgotten she was in Mars Attacks, and I saw that she was in it. She's a little girl in Mars Attacks. Chris is now thinking about it. But famously, the Star Wars prequel trilogy, Closer, V for Vendetta, Black Swan, and she's been in Marvel's Thor movies and extensions thereof, and future ones to come as well. Back to Léon, though, made on a budget of $21 million-ish, because the number I had was in French francs, and so I had to work out French francs to the dollar, but in 1994. So I think about $21 million roughly is what the budget was. The US opening weekend got $5 million back, and its final US gross was 19.5, so not quite its budget back in America. And its worldwide gross, I do not know, because it wasn't a full return on all the numbers. However, with it being $1.5 million short in just America, I feel like it probably made a profit worldwide. And was probably quite popular in France and England and other places like that too. Released 18th of November 1994, it received no award nominations at any major award ceremony whatsoever. In its history, it did win 6 awards, which was 2 for Natalie Portman, 2 for Luc Besson, 1 for the film itself, and 1 for the sound. But it did not get recognised at anything that you could call anything major whatsoever. But we have never touched on the 1995 award season before, so I'll go through the big ones that it didn't get mentioned at. So the 1995 Oscars, lads, give me your best picture from these 5 here. And this could be a banner year for the Oscars. We've had some bad Oscar years, but pick your winner at the 95. Forrest Gump, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, and The Shawshank Redemption. Pick a winner of those 5.
Forrest Gump.
I want to say Forrest Gump, but I think Shawshank will win it.
Forrest Gump was your best picture at the Oscars that year. Quite a big one. But yes, barely a bad film between them. I have not seen Quiz Show, but I have seen all the rest, and they're all pretty good. MTV Movie Awards in 1995. Pick me your best movie out of these.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump again. Well done. Interview with the Vampire, Pulp Fiction, and Speed. What was the winner of those 5? Are you saying Forrest Gump, Andy? Is that your
Aye.
answer?
I'll stick with Forrest Gump as well.
It was Pulp Fiction at that one.
Wanker. Fell to a trap.
Pulp Fiction was the interview. And at the Razzies, I've done a little bit of a feature on these because I hadn't really heard of any of them. 1995 Razzies, Worst Picture, give me your winner of Colour of Night, the classic erotic thriller starring Bruce Willis as a psychiatrist who witnesses one of his patients killing themselves, and the sight of her bloody green dress makes him go colourblind.
How have I never heard of this film?
Secondly, we have North, reasonably famous, starring Elijah Wood. Also has Bruce Willis in it, but Elijah Wood plays a boy that divorces himself from his parents and then goes around looking for and auditioning new parents. Next nominee, On Deadly Ground. All I need to say is it was was directed by Steven Seagal, and you can see why the Razzies pick that. The Specialist is next. Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone star in a reasonably high-grossing but poor action film. And I never realised how similar their names were until I saw them written down there, Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone. And then the final one, Wyatt Earp. In the mid-90s, Kevin Costner had a bad run, including this, a 3-hour-long cowboy biopic on Wyatt Earp.
Sounds amazing.
Compared to Tombstone that won the Oscar. So there are your 5. You've got Costner as a cowboy, The Specialist starring Stallone, so Seagal, Elijah Wood, and then the erotic thriller where Bruce Willis goes colourblind.
No, I'm going to say The Specialist. That's the one I've actually seen.
You were both incorrect. It was in fact Colour of Night. I'm very intrigued by the sight of a bloody green dress making someone go colourblind. But yeah, not a good year for Bruce Willis at the Razzies. The final thing I'll run through before we get into it, I have a brief synopsis. Joseph has written a synopsis for us.
I don't trust Joseph.
Léon is as follows. Léon is an Italian immigrant. I always thought he was French.
So did I.
Obviously, Jean Reno is French, but...
Yeah.
Blew my mind as well. I've watched this film about 4 times and it was only on my Blu-ray extended cut that I watched. Did I realise that? Because I always thought when he's like talks about the Italian, it's just like, oh yeah, he works for an Italian mob. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I thought they meant.
Not that, like, twice Gary Oldman mentioned specifically, he's the Italian man. It's like, no, he's not. He's French.
Because he lives in Little Italy, so I thought, all right, maybe that's where it comes from. But no, yeah, I always thought he was French.
I just thought it's because he was a moron and didn't know he couldn't tell his accent. He's quite clearly French.
Yeah, I don't think he puts on an Italian accent, does he? He just acts as himself, doesn't he? Yeah. Anyway, so Léon is in fact an Italian immigrant who fled Italy after having committed a crime there. He now resides in New York City and is working for the mob boss, Uncle Tony. He lives with his favourite plant in a small apartment in the city next door to a girl he occasionally speaks to whose father is a drug dealer working with crooked DEA officers. One day when she's out getting groceries, the crooked agents murder her entire family in a botched drug deal, and upon discovering the massacre upon her return home, she walks to the end of the hall to Leon's apartment, who lets her not only his home, but also into his life as well. That was not a great sentence. Soon enough, he's teaching Mathilda, a young girl, how to be a professional hitman in order for her to learn enough to get revenge on the crooked cops who murdered her family. But when she goes in for revenge and is captured by the crooked agents, Léon comes and saves her. And so begins the ultimate theme in the movie. Will Léon and Mathilda live happily ever after now that she's opened up his heart, or will the crooked cops have something to say about it? I don't want to argue too much with Joseph, but he says at one point, near the end of the film, so begins the ultimate theme of the movie.
Yeah, I'd say so.
To me, the whole movie's about her getting revenge, isn't it? That seems to be what the theme of the movie is. Anyway, we'll maybe get into
Chris wants to say something. I know he's going to say. Say it, Chris. Say it.
Say what?
I don't know.
It's coming up, Chris. You can save it till then.
I'll save it to where it's necessary.
At this point, I've now got in the notes. Which version did we watch? I watched this version, the 1998-ish DVD version of just Léon. There's no professional, it just says Léon on it. So that's
I watched the Blu-ray remastered extended cut.
Mine was called Léon the Professional.
Right.
Of 1994, I don't know.
So we all have had a different version here then. So I think I know what bits have been cut out of mine. I think mine might have the least in it. But maybe Chris does if you watch the American version, you might have less as well. It was my selection. And I picked it just because it was kind of an era we hadn't done a lot of yet. There's only a few movies picked around the very mid-90s. I always laugh at Andy when he refers to Jean Reno as Rennie Russo, so I wanted to pick a Rennie Russo movie. And then I say all my picks were set in stone. And then when we covered Ellen Greene last week, I thought it was funny that she was in this movie as well.
Fun fact, I was actually going to pick Léon last week, because I got a new car, which was a Seat Léon, and it was going to be funny. But then I was like, actually, you know what? Léon will not make a good podcast film, so I didn't pick it.
Okay. All right. So we'll see if it did. On to point 2, the high points. I've talked a lot, so someone else can take the first high point. Chris, how about you lead off on high points?
Well, my first point is Ellen Greene's voice did not annoy me anywhere near as much as it did in Little Shop of Horrors.
It was
normal.
Yeah.
Actually, not in it for very long.
Well, he's on that subject. It's one of my high points. Bathtub death. What a death.
It was a good one, yeah. And when it cuts back and she's still like bleeding through I would say bullet hole, but I guess the hole just in the back of the bath was amazing.
That whole scene, I thought like he's going to come in and do his usual, get close to one and be like, you hadn't turned in. It's now when it passed, what you do. Then blow people away. Nope. Bashes the door in, bang, 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 bang. It was quite unexpected, I thought.
The best bit of it all, though, is when he's like halfway through his rampage and he comes back into the hallway and his whole squad are all like, whoa, duck out of the way. Like he's just got to turn and shoot them. That was definitely the best bit of the whole thing, though.
They weren't the best, that's going to come up later on, but they weren't exactly the best of henchmen.
Like, officers, like DA officers as well. Like,
yeah.
Were they all policemen, like? Cause
yeah, they're undercovers.
I just thought, well, that makes sense. I just thought it was goons.
The dreadlock guy was definitely.
Station, it was a bit. Yeah. And like, just literally right after that little old lady that comes out was brilliant. She just did not give a fuck.
Yeah, him shooting the window right next to her, and she just kind of looks at it and then looks back. It's amazing.
I thought she was a goner.
I don't think he was going to shoot at her. It did surprise me. Like I have seen this film before, but like a long time ago, for the last time, so I'd pretty much forgotten every major, every minor development that happened. I'd forgotten. But yeah, I enjoy that bit.
I got very Fifth Element and GoldenEye music vibes. That little kind of, it's hard to describe what the noise was, but they kept doing the same noise over and over again. It was exactly like GoldenEye.
Aye, I know what you mean. It's from the game.
Yeah.
It does have a score, like it has movie music, like a film music to it. I
think it's the same similar cast. Maybe the same guy did Fifth Element as well. I don't know.
Maybe. I think
yes, it could have done it. And Gary Oldman, they both did it.
Yeah,
they both did it. What about you, Andrew? Any high points?
Plant. What plant? That's definitely.
Why would you spray a plant and wipe it off?
Cleaning it.
Gets it moist.
They get dust on them. Especially because he's out in the windowsill in New York.
It's currently the best outlier for best inanimate object this season.
Oh, believe me, he's in the running.
I just thought the plant stuff was good. It just shows you how he's precise, he's accurate. It's a metaphor for the film.
It was the Terminator of plants. It did last quite a lot of destruction.
Even when Natalie Portman was thrown around.
Yeah. He could look after it, so that meant that Mathilda was in good hands. That he'd be able to, he can look after this little plant. He can look after Mathilda just fine.
There you go.
My first high point I had was our absolute first introduction to Léon in the first place, where it's him getting the first kind of mission or the hit off of Tony, and you don't see him. All you see every so often is like half of a sunglass and just lower half of his voice, and then his face. And then him going taking everybody out one by one on that hit without ever seeing him, and then him peeking through the bullet hole as well. I thought it was a really good shot. And then you finally see him, and then he just backs off into the darkness again. It's like, this is who you're dealing with here, the absolute best of the best. Obviously explains later on that once you can master the knife, you have mastered being a hitman. But I thought the absolute first introduction to Léon, I thought was a really good start.
I've actually got another good high point. Sunglasses, best inanimate object. I remember this was the film that made me want a pair of them sunglasses. I got a pair of them sunglasses, looked like a bell end. Instant mistake.
Did you couple it with the little woolen hat?
No, never quite that far. But yeah, those glasses do not suit anybody, except from him. So, advice.
Do not barely suit him though. My next high point is quite. Well, it's not really a high point, but I felt like I was learning with Mathilda. I think I'm ready to be an assassin now. I know to breathe when I'm taking the sniper shot. I know if I've got a knife, that's it. I'm the best of the best.
Well, hopefully
So
you've
like
learned some. Hopefully you've learned something about Call of Duty. Is don't look down the sight until you're fucking ready because of the glint. Because you
That's
keep
exactly
getting
what
us killed in Call of Duty.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same. That's one of my high points is her practice hit, as it were. I thought it's a real good use of tension as well, because you go in thinking she's just going to randomly just shoot somebody in the park, and I'm thinking the whole time, it's like, why wouldn't she just like shoot at a pigeon or just something like that? Obviously, we kill birds off all the time on the podcast on this, but yeah, it's like, why would it have to be a person? And the whole thing's building up, and obviously she shoots this guy who looks like he's important. We never actually got an explanation of who he was, did we? But this important guy, but it's just fake bullets. But I thought the whole scene was really well set up that she's going to kill someone. It's like, oh no, it's not. It's actually, I don't know, a paintball pellet or something like that.
No way that paintball could go that far. Nah.
Yeah.
We both tried to say the same thing at the same time.
I feel Léon is he's such a good hitman now that he has invented this non-lethal bullet or something like that that can travel thousands of yards. I don't know.
No.
And any more high points? I've got a couple more if anyone else doesn't have.
It's not really. Well, yeah, a couple. I've got like the big standoff with everyone. I thought it was like.
Is that because there was a twist coming? Because you love a twist.
I didn't really see any twists.
What? There's like 4 twists in this film.
Not really. It's all kind of straight down the line.
No, I think towards the end, like the deaths at the end are twisty. I guess you don't think that he's definitely going to die, and then you don't. The absolute very end with Gary Oldman is a bit.
You don't even think Gary Oldman's a de-agent until he is, and it's suddenly, oh, that's a twist. And then how he get. And then how he gets out of the apartment. That's a twist.
Yeah.
That's some smarts there.
Speaking of the everyone bit, Chris, my little bit of trivia note on that is that was obviously an improvised line by Gary Oldman. So he seems to have improvised nearly the entire film. Like him, the whole Beethoven bit, he improvised, and apparently every take he did of that little monologue of him explaining to the other guy why he shouldn't have messed with me, he did a different part, like he did a different story every single time. Sometimes it's Beethoven, sometimes it was somebody else, but the Beethoven one's the one who got in. But the everyone, he just shouted it just as a random take, but only the sound guy that he warned him, say, take your headphones off, I'm going to shout this. Every other line was like, send me everyone, and I mean everyone. But this one time he did the famous, what's now very gifable, everyone line. Only the sound guy he would yell at.
That's like all the part of the film I've seen before is that one scene.
Yeah, I think it's the lasting thing. It probably is the most famous thing from the film. Maybe, I don't know. In my eyes, I think it is. But
anyway, I've got one more high point. If everybody else has got any.
To add on to the whole raid, I thought was a high point from the beginning, where they capture Mathilda, and she's given them the wrong code. I thought it's a really good thing because you don't see where Léon is, but you know that he knows that they're coming. So what is he going to do? Apparently,
I was paying attention when she was walking around. Remember the code 212, and I was like, oh. And then she started knocking away. I was like, oh, stupid bitch, she's just giving away the code.
The code she did give, apparently, is Morse code for the word die. So when they tapped on the door, they were saying die, so therefore Léon had the best chance to run and get himself, to climb and get himself ready for them coming in since he was above the door.
He's probably hiding there as soon as she left the door, just in case.
Yeah.
It's all prepared.
Way up here.
My last one is, the image of him walking down the hallway, and then you kind of see it from his angle. You just see the flash, and then just him going down. I thought it was quite a cool way of doing it. You kind of knew what was happening, but you weren't like 100% sure. Yeah,
a very good death. I think I've nominated it as the best death later on. So yeah, it's an absolute high point. And then the Edge of Tomorrow reveal that the pin was actually pulled out. I was like, I've seen that before. So it's Edge of Tomorrow, which we've also done on the podcast. Tom Cruise has actually pulled the pins on the grenades. I think they stole it from Léon when he actually had pulled the pin on the grenade. In the original script, he was going to kill Léon like he did. And then when he got to Mathilda, she was going to hand him the pin and she was going to have the grenades on. And then they were like, no, that's too dark. We can't do that. So they changed it to just actually Léon.
I thought she was going to get revenge and kill him. But obviously she just goes off and lives a happy life.
Well, essentially the whole thing is Léon doesn't want her to be a killer, really. So I don't think he'd want to do it to her. Andy, any more high points?
No.
No.
Right.
Final one I mentioned is Léon just at the movies. He was so happy watching the movie, which wasn't Singing in the Rain. It was a different film. I'll find out the information. I thought it was Singing in the Rain because it looked like it. It's always fair weather. So there was a sequel or tied into Singing in the Rain. But yeah, very much enjoying it, which led me to the trivia note that John Renault admitted to playing Léon as if he was a little mentally slow. That's his words, not mine. Which certainly shows in the movie theatre scene where he's like totally buzzing about the film.
Basically playing
He did
Chris.
John Renault did it. I don't know if this works for Chris, so that the audience would relax and they wouldn't think that he was going to take advantage of the vulnerable young girl when she came into his life. So that was his reason for doing it.
Yep, definitely Chris.
That sounds like Chris. Yeah. On to point 3, the low points. Chris, to get you perked back up again, what are your low points for Léon?
Matilda's family, like what a lovely family she's got. She's got a dad that beats the shit out of her, like a sister that threatens to smash her face in, and then thumps her twice. Like, her mum was all right, and her wee brother was all right, but what a lovely family.
It was quite a confusing dynamic because the dad was married to not her mother, and their oldest daughter wasn't her sister, and then her and the brother were actual brother and sister and kids of the dad, but his current wife or whatever has an older daughter. And I got really confused when she was
And he was like
explaining
Mexican as well.
He did seem it. Yes, he did seem like he was Hispanic of some nature. My first low point, since Chris has mentioned his first one there, his horrible family, is when she goes to Léon and he's like looks after her for the first time and she goes to bed. I think he asks her, or at least says to her, you should have a blanket, or asks, do you want a blanket? So he goes and gets a folded up blanket and just dumps it on her, and then just that's it. Like, there's your blanket. And it's like, okay, he's not a parent, he's never had a child, doesn't know what he's doing, but he knows how to use a blanket, surely.
Yeah, she can learn to do it. I'll just dump it on my kids as well. There you go. I can do it yourself.
And I was like, how
Come on,
inconsiderate of Léon. Because she's gone from this horrible family who hate her, and this next guy like doesn't even know what he's doing. I've always felt she seemed too intelligent for the family. Like the family seemed like horrible and they don't care about her whatsoever. She seemed really smart, and I'm like, they don't seem like they're the sharpest tools in the box to have this really smart child. And she seemed well brought up, despite the fact that
and also afforded to pay her to go to that private school as well. Like, why did they do that? Yeah, okay, it was drug money, but why?
Yeah.
yeah. Why bother? Yeah.
Right, time to strap in, lads. It's about to get on PC. Right.
I was saving this, but on you go.
Right, here we go. It's the point that you've all been dodging. Jailbait Natalie Portman. That's a low point.
Now, I think my version had the most, I don't know, sexual content removed from it. So
I would imagine so, because the extended edition gets weird.
Yeah, because there is no. At one point, Mathilda says, I think I'm falling in love with you.
Aye.
He doesn't like the sound of that at all.
From that point, it got really weird.
Oh, it gets weirder in the extended cut.
He was immediately like, no, they don't go to a restaurant and have a dinner in my version.
Yes, they go to a restaurant and she tries to snog him.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in my version. She does say at the hotel to the guy at the desk that he's my lover, whatever it was, but then Léon, again, is not involved in that. And then there's one more thing I was thinking of that now escapes me. But
the dress scene, when she talks about...
Aye.
Yeah, he brings her the dress and says, I thought you could maybe have this. And then that's sort of the end of it. I don't think she ever tries it on in the version.
No,
I don't know
she
if
puts it on in our version as well.
Yeah. So there we go.
And then she talks about having her first time with Léon, and it's just really uncomfortable.
Oh, it's bad.
The version I watched, the 1998 DVD version, the English, I think it's the British version of it. That's the one you want. There was none of this stuff that Andy and Chris are about to break down.
Did they sleep in the same bed in yours?
Pardon?
Did they sleep in the same bed in yours?
Léon wakes up one morning, she's sitting next to him, and it's kind of when he likes the bed, so he's like stretching out the bed.
See,
he saves her, and then he wakes up in the morning.
She basically forces him into bed, grabs him, puts his arm around her. It's creepy. It's a very low point in this extras.
I got none of this in the version I had, so I cannot.
You're lucky because you kind of watch the film and then it starts to happen. You're like, oh, this is uncomfortable, and then it gets worse, and you're like, oh, why? He's to stop. And then, like when they're talking about the first time, he's just like, no, I shouldn't. or something like that. And you're like,
you could see it. It's like that's
because she's only 12.
That's the point where no, she's 18 technically in this film. She says 18, Chris. It's fine.
She lies.
I know. But still, yeah, that's the scene where it's like you can see he's starting to think about it. The rest of them are all fairly innocent. It's like if he is playing a slow character, you can see he can get away with it. That's the scene where it's just like, this is turning, and why is this added into the extended cut? Because it does not need it. It's too bad. And like I said,
it's supposed to be a lot worse. Like the book or something like that, or it's supposed to be a lot worse.
I mean, the diner scene is bad.
Supposed to do it at some point.
Yeah, the diner scene's bad when she just drinks, gets absolutely fucking smashed, and then just tries to snog him right in the middle of a restaurant. It's like, oh no.
Nope.
No. Bad.
Despite the fact I didn't see any of this, I still got one of my low points. Was the whole thing is still just a bit weird, and that's just the basic version. Which the big question I have next to it. So I'm assuming the very end of the film is still the same, where she escapes down the hole in the wall.
Right.
And he's like, "I want us to be happy. I want us to this. I want us to that." In your guys' version, do you think that is what he thought, and he was telling the truth, or he was in fact just telling her what she wanted to hear so that she would go?
Yeah.
And I reckon if he didn't get put down by Gary Oldman, who turns out to be the hero in this, shit was going down afterwards. If he got out alive, shit was going down, and somebody was going to jail. Tell me I'm wrong, Chris. Tell me I'm wrong.
I like your little twist that the Gary Oldman's the hero.
that is the twist ending. Is it actually he's the hero? We're supposed to be supporting Stan this whole time.
Yes, he's a DA agent. He knows. He knows what was going down.
Fuck guy. I've got one small one. It was just, like, it was a high point was his death, but it's also a low point. Like, he's a great assassin, and then all of a sudden he gets sloppy and forgets to check his corners and stuff, and then bang.
He was out of the life, out of the business. It seems like Tony is reasonably trustworthy, so he might actually have got some of his money if he just made it out and got away. But still, I'm not 100% sure. Like, it is presented as that's the light at the end of the tunnel. I'll be out if I make it outside. It's like they kind of know what you look like, and they're probably going to be quite stringent in searching the two of you down and finding you. So I'm not sure if it was definitively he was going to get away with it and that was going to be over. But yeah. I agree. My next low point, which I think is definitely the worst thing in the whole film, but maybe you guys, what you've had might be different. When he finally gets Mathilda to go down the hole in the wall, he just turns around and just goes, "Rah!"
Yeah, he does that.
It just seems like it's from a totally different film. Like, it's not him at all. That is not
there was
what he's like.
a few bits like that where the cameras are all jiggling about, and it's just that bit there was just awful. Though. I remember that now.
So kind of cheesy, and then it's not like he then goes like bang bang bang, like goes in a straight. He still has to wait for them to come into him, and he still takes them off one at a time and all that. And then and actually his escape plan is less violent than the way it could have gone after that. What about you, Andy? Have you got any other low points? Or
I've got a couple more. Strap yourself in.
Oh God.
Right, the Natalie Portman dress up scene, that was cringy. Like
when she's playing Marvel.
Yeah, it was like him playing John Wayne. That was great. But why did they have to dress her up like so sexually and shit like that? It just got weird. And it's like
her chaplain was good.
Yeah, the chaplain was brilliant. But yeah, that was weird. And then my ultimate low point, other than all the kind of creepy pervy stuff, if you put that to one side, the music and the soundtrack was probably the worst I've ever heard in any film in history. It was very
any film in history.
It was very French and did not work, and like Chris said, it sounded like...
I know what you mean. Those bits, yeah, they were crap, but the other bits sounded like The Fifth Element.
They're just a random, oh, there's a camera shot. I know, let's put some shit French music into it for no fucking reason.
I know what you mean now.
It's fucking meant to be Italian as well. That's the thing, it's like, no wonder I always thought he was fucking playing a fucking French assassin, because it's all just shit French music. And French people probably don't even listen to that fucking music.
It was film music, I thought. I don't think it added or took away, in my opinion.
It fucking took massive amounts away. It was fucking horrendous.
I quite enjoyed the Sting song at the end. It wasn't strong enough to nominate it, but I thought it was quite a catchy little tune at the end of the song.
I didn't like long enough to listen to it.
All right.
He was gone, passed out, slept.
My last low point I've had some expert opinion on this. So when she goes and puts the plant in the field or the garden at the end, it would probably die, because it would need a different climate to New York in the summertime or whenever it would be. It would need to be a tropical climate. It wouldn't be wet enough and hot enough. So that plant, after the story of it needing to grow roots and all that sort of stuff, it would probably
It's
just
fucked.
wilt away and die. So I don't know. That's a low point for me.
That's me. I'm done as well. No, I've done my last one.
There we go. Not much in the way of low points. On to point 4 on the podcast. That's when we keep track of all the stats, and we usually get asked a question at the beginning of the stats.
No.
We don't get asked. Well, in fact, Chris, you did hear a shit.
I literally did that for fun because I knew you'd do that.
I thought I heard a shit.
There were 13, as a wee while coming, but in the end there were 13 shits said in the movie, none of which were Léon. I'll get more on that in a minute. But Andy, did you hear any shits during the film?
Well, I didn't see any like physical shits in this one. However, there were some ropey toilets in their apartments. Like, I don't know if they were like apartments or hotel rooms. I couldn't quite understand. I feel like they were just temporary apartments that they were hiring. But you think you would clean them between uses? First thing,
everywhere they went looked ropey.
yeah, but the first thing I would do is go in a hotel. You go in, you open the toilet door. That's clean. I'm okay with it. He goes in and searches everything. It's like, I can hide there, I can hide there. It's like, opens up. That toilet's fucking horrendous. That needs a clean. But no. Just to completely ignore the priority number 1, a good shitter. Base of operations, number 1.
Base of operations. But that's it. None for definite. Definitely you couldn't say confirmed.
No, I was hoping that, like, I thought in the little montage, I was like, yes, finally, I'm going to get, like, somebody dying on a shitter. Nope.
And none of the families were killed either. One was in the bath, but that
One
was
in the bath, close to a shitter, but not actually on the shitter.
Toilet.
Did it?
In the police station, she went to the bathroom to get
good point.
I was still not caught in the shitter. That's what I mean. There was a lot of false alarms.
That last cubicle had somebody in it, I think. So that could be the only one, maybe, because he was behind the door.
That's what I was hoping for. Just somebody sitting there and just you hear a shit noise. That would be hilarious. Oh, what a film that would have been.
Yeah, that was my high points as well. Oldman versus Mathilda in the toilet. I thought that was a very good scene. We're on stats at the moment. Other swears, 27. And again, none of them are Léon. He never once swears in the film. He tells Mathilda to stop cursing at one point, and he, in fact, himself doesn't ever curse in the entire film. There were 4 explosions, all quite near the end. One explosion turned into 3 explosions, and then the very end one where he blew up Stansfield was the last one. The internet said 34, but I counted 35 deaths in the film. There was one extra one I got somewhere, so 35
Did you
deaths.
count a plant?
I didn't go to the plant. It didn't die in the film. It would probably die in the future as an asterisk. And on that subject, there may have been a dead plant, but I could see no dead animals for the first time in a while. I don't think there were any animals killed in the making of this film or in the watching of this film. I couldn't remember any birds or cats or cows or anything like that that would normally get killed off. Nothing like that happened. Did they say the Thing in this film? Did they say Léon?
Aye.
They said Léon, yeah, but they didn't say Léon the Professional.
That's because you watched the American version, your bell end.
I counted Léon because that's what mine was called. 23, which could be a high. I think we've not had them saying the Thing that many times in a film before. They did say the word professional once, and they said pro a few times. So there was a Léon and a professional, if you want to put it that way. I did count because from my memory, he said Mathilda a lot. There were 21 Mathildas, so it's still 2 fewer than Léon in the film, but it did say Mathilda quite a lot. And I counted one final thing. There were 2 feet in the film. Léon was standing in the shower and we saw his feet. Ever since Andy stopped counting feet, we keep seeing feet every single time. Who's next for stats? Who wants to offer something up?
I've got a quick one. There were 11 glasses of milk.
Yeah.
Because he caused a big job, 2 of which get spluttered over his face.
Very good. Every time she goes to buy milk, something bad happens in the film. I think every single time she does a little shop, somebody breaks into somewhere and tries to kill someone. I think it's 3
like
times.
The oranges from The Godfather. You knew
Exactly.
somebody's going to die.
Exactly. Yeah. I should put that in as one of the little references. So I'll add Godfather to my movies and movies later on if I forget to do it. Andy, any stats?
I've got some fun fact stats.
Mhm.
So there was a Mac-10, i.e. a submachine gun, and there was also an Uzi in this thing. Now, fun fact for you, both a Mac-10 and an Uzi will deplete their entire ammo in 2 seconds. And that guy was firing them for about 8 seconds. So, movie magic right there. Impossible. Couldn't do it. Even with an extended clip, a Mac-10 will only shoot for 3 seconds.
You haven't played too much Call of Duty.
I think so.
Just telling you.
I'm assuming that's it for stats. We'll move on to point number 5. All we do is work. We need to take a break and play a game. So, Chris, what have you got for the quiz?
I'm going to see our professional user and how much you remember from the film. I was going to do Assassins. I'm going to talk through that so I can't hear it. I was going to do Assassins, but actually there's not that many films that don't have the name of the assassin in the title. So we'll start off with Andrew. What is Leon's one cleaning rule?
Technically it's 2. Don't kill women or children.
It's one rule, no women and children. But
I would say that's 2 rules.
That's a 2 rule.
Well, like you said, I've got one rule, no women and children.
Nah.
Anyway, correct. Doesn't matter. That's taken from the film. Bruce, what colour were the pills that Stansfield takes?
Green and yellow, half and half.
Correct.
Oh, I've got information on that. While you're there, they were... Where's my information on it? Librium, a sedative and hypnotic medication for anxiety, insomnia, and withdrawal from alcohol and drugs. That's what he was taking. There you go.
Andrew, what cartoon does Mathilda like to watch?
Transformers.
Correct.
She really does. She's put it on about 5 times. In this
Also,
every time there's a TV.
This was before On Demand, right? How many times has Transformers been fucking aired in America at one time?
It must have been. Cause I'm thinking, it's in my mind,
Every
it's always
morning.
daylight when she turns it on, so it must be the same time every day. She's like, she goes, "No, our Transformers is on," and gets it on.
I'm assuming you're going to get this because you're a fat guy in a minute. How many times does Mathilda hold a cigarette?
I think it's 5.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Andrew, I thought you might. How many times? Oh no, that's the wrong one. We're doing the same one. What fake name does Mathilda give when they check into the hotel?
I know it's the student that she doesn't like. I don't know what her actual name
We
is.
have to push you. Okay, Bruce.
I know what it is. I don't know about their first names, but they're definitely the MacGuffins, the 2 of them.
Yeah, that's what I was going for, the MacGuffin.
Father and daughter.
So Bruce, what did Mathilda take from when she went back to her apartment? I'm looking for 2 things.
She definitely looked like a stuffed rabbit, and she had a bag. Is the bag the answer? I don't know what she had in the bag, but she had a rabbit.
No, she specifically went to something. I'll pass it over to Andrew.
A blanket.
No, it was money and toy rabbit.
Ah, the money.
And a blanket.
And a bag
Andrew?
full of stuff.
She took a blanket.
No. What distinctive piece of jewellery does Mathilda wear?
A choker with a star on it.
It's not a star.
It
Is it the moon? Is it if you're throwing it over? Is it the moon?
No. It's a black choker with a sun pendant.
Oh, sun.
Still, if you ask me what that was, it's a choker. So point. Thank you very much.
How many times did you fuck me over with
What
not
piece
giving
of jewellery?
specific details?
It's a choker, and I tried to give you some extra. It's a fucking choker. There's nothing else about it. What do you wear in your head? It's a fucking hat. It's not a hat with turned up roly bits. Shut up, you prick. It's a choker. That's what it's called. What do you call a ring? It's a fucking ring. You don't say it's a ring with a fucking 3 diamonds on it. It's a ring.
We'll see.
It's a choker.
Chris,
point for me.
Name 3 of the people Mathilda and Léon dress up as.
Charlie Chaplin, Marilyn Monroe, and John Wayne.
Correct. Andrew, which one does Léon get correct?
He doesn't get any correct.
He gets 1 correct.
He gets a question right, but it's a bit of a tricky one that Chris has asked you here.
Yeah, you fucking prick. He doesn't get one
I'll
right.
pass it over. Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't.
He does.
Hand over to Bruce.
He gets the answer "Singing in the Rain" correct.
Oh no, I was gonna say the one. She dresses up as Gene Kelly, doesn't he? She?
No.
Well, I guess so. But his answer is "Singing in the Rain."
Yes.
Does he
No, he says Gene Kelly.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he
I thought
does.
shouted,
No, he
I thought
doesn't.
shouted "Singing in the Rain."
Aye.
Or if she
She
sings
starts
"Singing in the Rain."
Singing in the Rain.
She
and
does
it's
sing
Gene
"Singing in
Kelly.
the Rain." I
But
take
he
it
doesn't
back.
get it
I
right.
take it back.
That's after
Yes,
the
it
bonus
does.
point. Nah,
Does.
no points.
Because Gene Kelly is who he saw at the cinema.
No
Oh yeah,
points.
it's no points because either one of you gets it right, but he
No
says Gene
points.
Kelly.
He does.
What was the secret knock? I can't remember. Bruce,
To me. Two,
Yeah.
then one, then two.
correct. And Andrew.
Fuck you. I don't give a fuck about your quiz. Go fuck yourself. You cheating little slimy weasel.
Not nice when you get screwed out of points, is it, Andrew?
Fuck off, you screwing little bastard. Nobody gives a shit about your quiz.
So
I
that's Bruce 3 up.
Oh, 3 up. My goodness.
Ah, fucking oh, he's getting annoyed now. He's just fucking trying to wind me up.
fucking
Can I handle it?
On a point
Ah,
6
fucking
on the podcast. Movies within movies.
fucking
This will make Andy happy because he likes movies within movies.
fucking
I always look for the parodies and
fucking
references and connections there within with other films. So, Transformers, It's Always Fair Weather, True Romance, Pulp Fiction, Bonnie and Clyde, Thelma and Louise, Dogma, The 7-Year Itch, Singing in the Rain, Scarface, Batman, The Shining, The Silence of the Lambs, Age of Tomorrow, and The Fifth Element, of course. Which reminds me that Gary Oldman gets blown up at the end of The Fifth Element as well. So I thought it was quite a funny connection between the two of them. A few others in there are just, like, Dogma has the exact same line later on, which is don't stop saying okay. It happens in Dogma, which comes after this as well, but it made me think of it. Chris, what have you got for movies within movies?
As part of the TTP universe, for the first time ever, someone's appeared in consecutive films for us.
Yeah.
Ellen Greene was just in the Little Shop of Horrors, and Gary Oldman, like we said more than once, makes an appearance, his first appearance since The Fifth Element. Putting us in the movie. I mean, it sounds a lot better now that I just flipped it around, but I would like to be Stansfield, because apart from being a dirty cop, he's not actually that bad of a guy. But now he's the hero of the film, according to Andrew. Andy can be Léon, so we can keep the Chris Fish's Andy dynamic going.
I don't want to be a creepy pervert.
Does that make me Mathilda?
No, I thought about that. But no, I put you, Tony. You're the guy in the middle who knows everything,
Right, okay.
knows what's going on.
I had a look at that as well. Mine went that Andy was Stansfield due to his angry rage issues that he has. But I thought, we're on the same team here, so we should be part of his team. So I put myself as Malky, the guy trying to keep him under wraps all the time. And I made Chris the white Rasta guy. He apparently in the film, his character, they call him Blood quite a lot, and someone calls him Willie. So his name is Willie Blood, which is funny enough on its own. But apparently the actor is called Willie One Blood, so he actually is called Willie Blood as his name. So Chris, you're Willie Blood.
He loves Willie Blood.
I'll take that. It's better than being Léon.
Yeah, seemingly yes. Andy, what have you got for movies within movies?
Right, strap yourself in because this one's a flawless one. So, Gary Oldman's actually immortal. And as we all know, in Blade, it's really easy to cure yourself if you're being a vampire. You just put a little in serum. So he doesn't become a vampire anymore. He then decides to go for a life of crime by being a sleazy DA agent, i.e. in Léon. However, you think he blows up, but of course, he's immortal. So he's not. And he does a load of other shit in between, but then he finally ends up in the future fighting Bruce Willis, but never actually sees Bruce Willis.
I thought you went with Léon and Godzilla route, but he doesn't actually die and he starts fighting Godzilla.
No, because Léon I couldn't find to make him immortal, but Gary Oldman, he could be immortal.
So when you say that there, he doesn't ever come into contact with Bruce Willis in The Fifth Element, no?
No,
they never.
Not once.
No, because
never.
This obviously in this, him and Léon only have the one scene together.
Yeah.
At the very, very end as well.
The closest in The Fifth Element is when he lands to try and find the stuff himself, and Bruce Willis walks out of shot, and then Gary Oldman comes in.
Right.
But okay. It's one of them films where the protagonist and the thing never meet.
Yeah, and it's near enough the same in this one. It's the final scene. It's like
it's a Luc Besson thing.
Yeah, it must be. As are all the actors. So they're in all the same films. So, 0.7 on the podcast. I still don't know what it is. Andy, why don't you enlighten us?
Right, this is another random question that I've just been on my head, and I thought about it quite a lot, and I've got my number in the head. So, being a cleaner, you find out that he gets fuck all, like $5 a hit. That's bullshit money.
For all the work he does, yeah.
Exactly, and he seems to be the best, and it's only $5, so I thought that's pretty cheap. However, I reckon I could do cleaning, but I've got my own price. I wouldn't do it for $5, so I just want to know what your prices are.
Well, I don't know. Like, well, I kind of thought $5 was alright because there's a section where he kills like 10 people.
Yeah, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's like high potential to get caught.
But he also
Well,
doesn't get
you have to
paid.
think about inflation now. That's back in '94.
To say he goes in to get a $5 target, he doesn't get an extra $5 for every minion he kills on the way. He gets paid to do the job, which would be to kill the guy. The fact that a guy has 100 people outside his house, that's just even more work he needs to put in for the same amount of money. So, yeah, he's giving the guy value for money, old Tony, anyway.
Mm.
And the fact that Tony's also keeping his money and not actually giving it to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gives him $1 to play with. There you go. Have some fun. But yeah, I just thought $5. Like, okay, like she gives him 20 to kill 4 people, but $5 a hit. That's too cheap. Too cheap. Whereas Chris seems like he's okay for $5. He's going
I'll do it.
He's going for the volume numbers.
One for £100, you know.
Chris is,
Money's money.
Chris is undercutting me, I think, in the
Right.
market today.
Let's paint a scenario here, right? So we can get a price, right? Let's just say you're at home, you get a phone call, you pick up the phone, and it's good old Joe Exotic, right? He's there. He's like, I've got a hit. Would you kill Carol Baskins? How much? What's the price?
Well, I
Is
need to factor in how much flights are. I need to buy some weapons. I need to.
Well, say expenses are paid for.
Learn to drive.
Say your expenses are paid for.
Pay for all this.
But the actual cost, the money number, what do you want?
$100,000.
You're $100,000.
That's my base. I'm starting at 100, I think. But I think you've got to think about this, that, like, as soon as, if someone killed Carol Baskin, obviously we're going to look guilty now, discussing it on the podcast.
I was literally just thinking that.
Yeah, if someone killed her tomorrow, then immediately it's a big thing. Like, everyone's like, oh my god, someone did it. Joe Exotic's behind it and all that, and then you got to, like, I would get to Joe and he would tell on us, I reckon.
He'd definitely narc on you.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I reckon it'd have to be a lot more, because you'd have to pretty much go underground for a considerable amount of time afterwards. So, yeah, I'm $100,000 minimum. I'm probably thinking $250,000, I would say. That's really
Okay.
where I'm going. So,
Well, you're
Chris has
both
got the
wrong
job again.
because Carol Baskins is what I know as a woman, and you're not meant to go and do a hit on a woman.
there you go. No women, no kids. Yeah.
That was his rule.
All right. So we now know Chris is $100,000, and he'll kill anybody for $100,000.
Anybody.
I would.
Absolutely anybody. Point 8. Our
Can't
nomination
discriminate.
for the 10 Point Podcast Awards, the Pointy Awards at the end of the season. Who and what we want to nominate for various things. I'll go first. So my nominees are as follows. So worst costume. Despite the fact that Gary Oldman wears the same suit for I don't know how many days in a row in this film, I'm going to nominate Léon's little hat for the worst costume. This looks so silly, his little hat, covering about the top quarter of his head.
Is it worse than Gina Carano's hat?
Oh no, I think her hat's probably worse.
Can't talk about her now. Disney will shut you down.
Best line, I've just gone at the top of your voice. Everyone is the best line. I think that pretty much holds true. Worst plan, pretty much how the DEA raid Léon's house or his flat or room, whatever it was. They go in minion style, like henchman style, 4 at a time. As he's killed off 4, we should send in another 4. Oh, he's killed off them 4, we should send in another 4. It's like, no, you should think about it a bit better than that, I think. And also, if they have everyone, just send everyone. What difference does it make? I've gone for best actor because Léon doesn't do a hell of a lot. Gary Oldman is absolutely sensational. Really, he's really good at playing deranged, and the fact that he seemed to have improvised everything to me adds a bit extra as well, that he's done it all off his own back. Best inanimate object, the plant, although Andy makes a good case for the sunglasses. Best cop, I've gone for Stansfield because he gets his man in the end, and he does wipe out like a lot of bad people as well, despite him being a bad guy. And worst cop, definitely Willie Blood. In the middle of them trying to turn over this place, he just starts looking at LPs. And be like, this is a great Rasta album. Léon's death was the best death. Again, Chris covered that. Worst father figure, definitely Mathilda's dad. He is an awful father. Natalie Portman for Best Actress, and Best Entrance are gone for Gary Oldman, him standing with just the earphones in, facing away, and then turning around with just this mental look on his face. So my nominations are there.
I'm going Best Entrance, Léon, when he's doing his assassinations at the start.
That's fair.
My Best Actor award is Natalie Portman. She plays a creepy jailbait kid really well. But without if you take all the extended cut stuff out, she's even better. So fuck that stuff off. She's actually amazing in it. Best inanimate object, I'm going to give to the glasses. They're amazing.
Okay.
The glasses are getting it because nobody can pull them glasses off. Not even Natalie Portman when she tries to copy them as well. Worst plan, kidnapping Natalie Portman and asking her for the secret knock and then believing that's the secret knock without any questioning that. Stupid idiots. Yeah. And what else have I got? Best exit. Out of an Extractor fan down like through your plant out first.
Him full on attacking the wall with the axe is great as well.
Yeah, plant first, then you're like Natalie Portman. Priorities.
Yeah, priorities was the priority. Yeah. What about you, Chris? Nomination.
Well, a lot of the same. I agree with Andrew with Best Actress Natalie Portman. I've gone supporting actor for Gary Oldman because he wasn't with the main people.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've gone for Worst Cops, the entire police force, because 200 of them couldn't take out one man and a 12-year-old girl. So I agree with Bruce with Worst Dad. And I've gone for Best Plan. Mathilda's plan of, walking past her house when they're killing her family and going to Léon's, because I would have turned around and went, holy shit, he killed my family and got myself killed.
Yeah.
So
I'm still not sure.
She was smart enough to walk past.
Still not exactly sure why they would definitely kill her and why they would want her.
They've seen enough films where she'll grow up, become older, and seek vengeance on them.
Yeah. Well, they avoided. They didn't avoid that, unfortunately, did they?
No, but that's why they wanted to do that. Oh, I've also got a bonus category to add in because I just completely forgot about one, which I've now just completely forgot about. I'll come back. It was there. It was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, it's gone. False.
Next week.
You continue to think about it, and I'll move on to asking Chris what his point 9. What was your moral of the story, Chris? Well, Andy,
drink your milk because it'll make you'll become an awesome assassin.
Yeah, so I've actually got his moral story: never buy milk, because I said every time she goes to buy milk, a raid or a murder or something happens in the background. So I had that as one of my morals of the story. Andy, why don't you give us your one?
Bitches be crazy.
Again. Every second episode. Right. In what sense? Is it just because she's in love with him?
Absolutely batshit crazy. She wants to kill a bunch of people. She's absolutely in love with a hitman. Oh, and well, remember, I've just got my another nomination. Best twist. This is the best twist we've ever had in a movie. That Léon isn't actually French; he's Italian.
Yeah. The French actor playing a French guy is actually Italian guy.
Yeah.
I've done my haiku moral of the story. It wasn't just the milk one. So Léon, a haiku. The story of what happens when you are nice to a complete stranger. That's my moral. Because if Léon would not have died had he not let Mathilda in his front door, if he had just let her carry on about her life.
Exactly.
Involved. But
bitches be crazy.
Never be nice. Never be nice to crazy children. On to the final point. The 10th point on the 10-point podcast is our 10-point rating. I was the one that selected, so I get to go first. My rating is heavily helped by the fact that I watched the least pervy version, by all accounts. Nothing gets too crazy. I deducted it a point because of the weirdness, but I think absolutely everything else about this film is phenomenal. I think everything's great. Everybody plays it really well. It's a great story. The tension builds when it's supposed to. There are funny and light bits, but the weirdness is still a little bit too weird. So I have gone as high as a 9 for Léon because I very much enjoyed this film. Andy, I have got you next because you were going to pick this, so I picked you as the second vote here.
So I quite like this film, and I thought I'd give the Blu-ray extended cut of thing. That was a mistake. And it's definitely deducted at about 3 points for me.
Right, okay.
Because it is grim. and I don't understand why a director or whoever did the extra went, I'm going to add that stuff in. It's like, no, mistakes were made. But the rest of the film's good. It's probably one of my favourite all-time drama films where not much actually happens and it's on a budget. But because I watched the extended version, it's only got a 5.
5 from Andy. And Chris, I believe on your first watch through, how did you find Léon?
Like I've never seen before, and I actually enjoyed it. Apart from it gets really weird at bits, and you kind of a bit like creeped out. But like you said, all the acting's good. The actual story's all right. But I'd say it's a good film. I'll give it a 7.
A 7 for Chris. This is going to be some complicated maths for me here. So, any final thoughts, lads, while I do some sums?
Aye, Rennie Russo's amazing in it.
I don't know. He's got one of those voices that kind of annoys me. I don't know if it's because it's French or it's just gravelly. It's the same in Godzilla.
I actually love this guy. He's brilliant in everything he's in. But this film is like, I don't know. If I'd seen him in this film first, I'd probably have issues with him. Being a little pervert.
Godzilla was your first thing.
Godzilla was the first thing I seen him.
Yeah, I first saw him in Godzilla. And also because in that film, he's kind of one of the main characters, but to me, he was a brand new person. It's, it's the French guy, but it turns out he's really important, which I thought was good. Final score, I did my maths. We averaged, so therefore the official 10-point rating, 10-point podcast rating for Léon is a 7. A very high 7, continuing our run of pretty well-performing films this season. We have had
that's about to change.
All it is about to change.
Pretty high so far. I better just throw over to Chris then, because it's the wild card week. We've no idea what Chris is going to come out with. So Chris, what have you got for us this week?
I've had like 6 different films running through my head this week. Like I keep seeing stuff on TV, going, "Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'll pick that." But I've gone completely left field, and quite possibly it has one of the most grossest scenes I've ever seen. My pick is the Brothers Grimsby.
Oh God.
It's got Sacha Baron Cohen and
Mark Strong.
Mark Strong, right? Okay. A podcast favourite. His hair derailed an entire episode of at one stage.
Did?
Oh yeah, I forgot he's been in something else. There you go. He's doing my job for me next week.
He was in Rock and Roller, Chris.
Yeah, I remember now.
Well,
have you ever seen this before?
I've never seen this.
Yes, you're in for a treat.
It's called Grimsby. What I've got here.
It's called Grimsby, yeah.
As well. It's just called Grimsby.
Yeah, Chris likes to watch all the American versions of everything, but it's called Grimsby.
Sure, based on Netflix, I suppose Grimsby as well.
Based on a place in England. Yeah, it is Grimsby. Once again, going on our trend of this film is called multiple things depending on where you watch it from.
Yeah, I know.
Great for our international podcast listeners.
We need to go AAA blockbuster soon, I think, so we can all watch the same film so that we know what we're getting.
I think there is an extended cut of this as well.
Oh, no doubt there'll be an uncut, unrated, I would imagine, yeah.
Oh, I'm almost certain there is. You're in for a treat if you've never seen this before, Bruce.
I've definitely never seen it before. I can kind of see what I'm expecting, but I'm not sure. And hopefully everyone who's watching either is excited about it.
They're not. They've already turned off.
You'll have.
You
have 7 days to watch the Brothers Grimsby, and we'll come back to us. Find us on YouTube again next week, and wherever you get your podcasts, you can like and subscribe on our video if you want, and on our podcast feeds. We want to hear from you too. So 7 days, watch Grimsby, and we'll come back to you next week on the 10 Point Podcast.